Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama. Welcome to our channel, Paws On Animation.
And today we're covering the animated series Justice League Action.
And this series isn't as well known as the original Justice League series, but we still wanted to cover it and give it some spotlight. Now this version takes a more action comedy style route for a series stories and features many appearances from characters from past incarnations. But
before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, and click notifications on future podcasts and World Pause videos.
Thank you for subscribing, sharing our videos, commenting, so much more, helping us on our journey to reach over 2,000 subscribers this year. We appreciate you so much.
Yes.
So this is another one of those that Rascal found, and what's funny is that she didn't find it recently. This originally debuted on Cartoon Network in November of 2016, and we began watching the episodes on demand. We watched the entire series, and then in 2024 they popped up again on demand, and Rascal said, "We've never seen it," and I'm like, "Yeah, we did." So unfortunately it's that unmemorable that she didn't remember it, so we watched it again.
Right. And this time the series was available at the time on Amazon Prime. Unfortunately, it was changed, but we got to see the entire thing straight through very quickly. And the good part about this is that while it's very different from Justice League, you know it's two different series. It's not continuation. It makes itself separate from the other one, so there's no mixing up or trying to compare it. The bad news is that there's constant references to the Justice League series and the other popular movies or shows from the animated universe. And a lot of people saw this as something really fun because, you know, people kind of just love cameos galore now and references so much, you don't need a story, just make cameos. But for here, it kind of felt like they were relying on what you remember from these other shows to tell these stories.
True. And it's neither a reference to Justice League Unlimited either.
Right.
So for those of you not familiar with this series, Justice League Action, it's a superhero animated TV series, as we said, based really on comedy. It's based on the DC Comics team Justice League, and the producer for this series is Jim Krieg, Butch Lukic, and Alan Burnett. And as we mentioned, it debuted in 2016, and then it finished out its first and only season in June of 2018, making an end to the series. So clearly it's not going to come back.
Right.
The genres it covers is action, adventure, comedy, superhero. And you have some of your favorites, including Kevin Conroy, who's the Batman. And we're very happy about that.
Yes.
And it had 52 episodes, but it's like other series where you get segments.
Yeah, and they're just by themselves this time instead of half and half. Every 11-minute episode was literally its own episode.
12 minutes for regular episodes and 3 minutes for the shorts.
And we saw a majority of the shorts, which were okay. And then we saw the entire series from start to finish. And it seemed there really wasn't a big, large story arc for this series like previous versions. It just was one-off stories. A lot of them either based off comic stories, or they were parodies or satires of existing stories, or in many cases actually taking previously told stories from Justice League and other shows and repurposing them for this. One of the biggest ones we ended up finding out was they took the episode Kid Stuff, where the Justice League returned into kids and had to defeat Mordred. Yeah. And then they decided to redo that episode, but not with the main Justice League. They used Constantine, Batman, Dr. Fate, I think Wonder Woman or Zatanna, and someone else. And they were in a haunted house of mystery, and it was Clarion that was the villain instead.
Yeah.
And the problem was that it wasn't even interesting to watch. It was just, you're seeing the same episode, but with a different villain. And they made it 11 minutes instead of 30. So the fun you had isn't in here. And they were pretty capable as kids, regardless if they remember who they were or not. So there wasn't that enjoyment. Plus they neutered Dr. Fate in here, where he was pathetic and useless, and someone else had to go save him and restore the magic. It's like, how do they write this one?
Unfortunately, that happened to multiple heroes in this series.
Yes.
And we were really disappointed. And they also made the butts of jokes.
Lots of times.
Literally. And you didn't understand why they took this route. But then I thought about Teen Titans Go.
Right.
So this
and
is probably the precursor, maybe?
I think so, or meant to be the equivalent without it being over the top. Because, Justice League action, they were trying to make that the catchphrase, like, Titans Go, Justice League action, and that never took off. It was just like, what are you doing?
Stop trying to make fetch your thing.
Stop trying to make action happen. It's not going to happen.
No, it's not. Now, one thing that was pretty great that we didn't know about is in September of 2016, McDonald's Happy Meal toys were distributed to coincide with the show's release. So that would have been pretty cool to get some of those toys. If any of you did get them, let us know in the comments.
Yes.
Because you know I love the toys.
Right.
Happy Meals. And I wish this had a better presence. I wish they had done more to make this more of a superhero show and not a comedy show. Now here's the thing. If it was interwoven or alternated, like Teen Titans did in 2003, Justice League itself did, where you have some serious episodes and you have some that are more slice of life and comedy, that would have been fine. But pretty much 90% of the show is comedy, and you don't understand why.
Right.
They did have a few good episodes. One that stood out to me that I thought was pretty different, and Roscoe told me is an actual character in the DC universe, was the Space Cabbie.
Yes.
And I did like that. He was voiced by Patton Oswalt.
Yes, correct. And yes, and they used him lots of times in here where he was traveling across the galaxy and pretty much taking people on rides to different destinations. And every now and then he did help the Justice League. And he's left over from the 50s, actually. And a lot of characters like him and the Nuclear Family and some other characters were from the 50s. And to me, it felt like we all, not only did they squeeze every single character possible from the Justice League series, they also put in some characters they haven't used in decades to give some spotlight. And to me, it kind of felt like it was getting a little overcrowded because there's like 50 some characters showing up in this show.
Well, since they had 52 episodes.
Yeah.
Well.
Right, yeah, there you go. And nothing's wrong with including characters you haven't brought to life before. Sure. It just felt like you were squeezing in way too many just to have people say, oh, I know that character. Oh, I know that character. And this is something that these shows have been doing a lot, trying to get people to react fondly because they got cameos from their favorite characters and favorite incarnations and don't care about the story. I just like seeing these characters.
Now, here's the problem with that. When you're referencing characters from the 50s, 40s, 30s,
right,
many of those people aren't watching these shows or reading the comics anymore.
Right.
So you are presenting them to those of us who have no idea who the heck these people are. Now, one reason that Rascal and I have a better grasp is because we got a reference dictionary for the DC.
encyclopedia.
Thank you. And it showed all the characters up to whatever particular date the book was written, and we learned of so many that we wish had gotten some screen time.
Yeah.
We wish had been translated into the modern day, and some that they were gender swap or redheads and no longer redheads and all those things they do now, which is unfortunate because when we were reading about some of these characters, they did seem like they would be great or fun or awesome to see because they were pretty powerful.
Right.
But it looks like for the Justice League, the core Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman are the ones they want you to focus on in every incarnation.
Yes, and especially Batman. About 90% of these episodes have Batman in it. Either he is the focus or he's paired up with another Justice League member. And I think they wanted to really ride the coattails of Kevin Conroy being Batman for you just sitting and enjoying it. He's been paired with Blue Beetle, he was paired with Zatanna, and Ertigon, and Steel, and Booster Gold, and Green Lantern, and a bunch of others. And it's like, okay, Batman, can you like go sit down for a little bit? You're on every single mission. And they're relying on that and his interaction with every single character to lift the story, when it's like at least Unlimited tried to bring in different characters on their own and other ones that weren't just the main core.
And we were happy, of course, Kevin Conroy was in it.
Right.
We loved him. And
the
problem was that when you have other Batman series, he tends to let the Robins or other characters
Right.
have spotlight, figure things out, and learn. But in here, that didn't happen. It was just Batman says, and that pretty much was it.
And they did the same thing when they had Green Lantern and they had Josh King return, and people,
hooray!
Yes, and I'm receiving a bunch of comments like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad to see Josh King. Oh my gosh, this is so great. No one talked about the episode. The only thing they focused on was Josh King returning as Green Lantern, and that carried the whole episode.
True.
And I think, to me, that's an issue, because then they tried to have episodes where they could have really deep, somber ones like Booster Gold not having a life because he acts like an idiot and they think he doesn't take anything seriously, and he saves time every day, and it's supposed to justify his craziness because it's like, well, he can't have a life because he's constantly guarding time itself, so you need to cut him slack. It's like, well, can you at least write the episodes a little better and write him not to be such a jerk half the time, so I can empathize, because you already got 5 characters that act like Booster Gold now.
True. So we're going to quickly go over the mega villains and heroes that appeared. We'll mention some of the voice actors when they're favorites.
Right.
Of course, we had Kevin Conroy as Batman Bruce Wayne. Rachel Kimsey voiced Wonder Woman, as well as Sis and Bleeze. We had Jason J. Lewis, who voiced Superman. Kal-El and Clark Kent, as well as 12 other characters.
Wow.
We had Darkseid appear, voiced by Jonathan Adams. Uncle Dudley was voiced by John Aston, who you know as Gomez Adams from the original 60 series.
Yes.
His son Sean Aston voiced Shazam!
Yes, which was brilliant.
Yes. And we had Jake T. Austin as Blue Beetle, and you know him from Wizard of Waverly Place.
Yes.
Dietrich Bader did not voice Superman, amazingly. He voiced Booster Gold.
Yeah.
And the Hive Master and Utul.
Yeah. They have a lot of characters in here, also alien species and stuff like we said, far back.
Troy Baker voiced Hawkman, Jonas Glim, and Kanto. We had Mr. Terrific, Zatanna, Firestorm, Zatara, Black Adam, voiced by Gary Cole, the very odd choice.
Yeah.
Sinestro, Felix Faust, Kane, Jonah Hex, Lobo, Mongol, both voiced by John DiMaggio. We had, as you mentioned, Green Arrow, voiced by Chris Diamantopoulos, who also voiced Hive Master in the first appearance in Metallo. We had some characters that played moms and dads. Melissa Disney voiced a mom character and a brat. We also had Brother Knight, who I wasn't familiar with.
Didn't know existed, yeah.
And Merle in the first appearance, voiced by Dan Donahue. We had Atrocitus, voiced by Michael Dorn, who I had no knowledge of this character. And you know Michael Dorn from Star Trek The Next Generation. Worf. Clarion the Witch Boy was actually voiced by Noel Fisher. Someone different.
Yeah.
We had Martian Manhunter, John Jones, but he was voiced by Crispin Freeman and not whom we wanted him to be voiced by. Sorry.
Oh, well, yeah.
We had Mr. Mistlepick.
Yes.
Voiced by Gilbert Gottfried. Great choice.
Yes.
Hippolyta. We had Mark Hamill voicing the Joker, Swamp Thing, Trickster, and himself in an episode. No kidding.
Was all Mark Hamill characters meeting Mark Hamill.
We had Calculator, Roxy Rocket, which I was surprised to see. Toyman, Steppenwolf, Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, voiced by Josh Keaton.
Yes.
We had Brainiac, voiced by John Delancey, Q, and Discord. Granny Goodness was voiced this time by Cloris Leachman. Yeah.
Surprisingly, yes.
Poison Ivy, Amazo, Calathos, Sid Sharp, Dr. Fate.
It just keeps going.
Dr. Fate Young was voiced by Erica Luttrell.
Oh my God.
David Lodge voiced Kalthos.
No way.
John Lovis was Sid Sharp. We have a few more. Calabac and Perry White, Parasite, Jimmy Olsen.
It just keeps going.
Voiced by Max Middleman. Vixen, Mari McCabe was voiced by Jessica Nicole, not by I can't remember her name, I'm sorry, but not by the one who voiced her in the original series and who made an animated appearance in the Green Arrow series. We had Adam, Ray Palmer, voiced by Jerry O'Connell, who's also voiced Superman.
Right, go figure.
We had John Constantine, Professor Anderson, Abena Geyser, voiced by Damian O'Hare, who also voiced Batman in one of the movies.
Right.
We had Cyborg and Conjuro, voiced by Carrie Payton, thank goodness.
Right.
Space Cabbie, as we mentioned, voiced by Patton Oswalt. We had Two-Face, Cersei, Big Botter, Red Velvet, Wizard, John Constantine Young,
The list
Kronos,
goes on
The Flash,
and on.
Etrigan,
and on.
Merlin, Zillus, a whole lot of others. Plastic Man,
Good
Victor
grief.
Freeze, Riddler, Gorilla Grodd, Penguin, Killer Frost, Cyrus
We weren't
Gold.
exaggerating.
And I'm going to stop at that. But some of the great voice actors we were happy to see were William Sawyers, Charlie Slater, Patrick Sace, Christian Slater, who I was very happy about,
Right.
Roger Craig Smith, Brett Spiner, who also was from Star Trek The Next Generation. He voiced Data. He was the Riddler in here. Tara Strong, of course, she was Harley Quinn,
Mhm.
Lois Lane, Ember, and Young Batman. We had Fred Tatasciore, Stephen Tobolowsky, Jim Ward, Jessica Walter as Athena, Travis Willingham, and last but not least, James Woods as Lex Luthor, which was a good choice.
Right.
So if you've seen Justice League action, let us know in the comments. How did it work for you?
Yeah.
Does it remind you a lot of Teen Titans Go like it did for us? Did you like the comedy focus?
Yeah. Or do you like this better than the original Justice League series?
Let us know what you think. If you haven't seen it, look for it on Prime or on demand with your service. Give it a watch, come back, tell us what you think.
And if you haven't already, subscribe for updates and weekly videos, favorite anime series, anime shows, and all things animation.
And thank you for joining us during Superhero Month. We hope you're enjoying all that we have to offer, especially Rascal Entertainment's channel.
Yes.
And all the other Rascals who are participating. As always,
You are special. Thank you so much for watching Rascal Entertainment.
and Mom Entertainment.
Have a toontastic day.
Peace.